me anywhere. This is an ASMR podcast.
Yeah, everyone loves it. But yeah, just having a look at some games to pick for my next. Well, where's Dragon Age fucking Dreadwolf? Like, what? I didn't even know the next game was called Dreadwolf. What even is that?
You didn't know that? I'm pretty sure we
No.
spoke about it on the show, but yeah.
Great. Well, I don't know, and I don't think that's coming out this year.
I think they did say a couple of months ago that it was in like a playable alpha or something, pre-alpha maybe. So it could.
Nah.
Yeah, it's a risky pick for sure.
And Avowed's not coming out this year. Much as I hate to say it.
I mean, maybe
early 24.
Maybe if you pick it, you can will it into existence. I'm sure.
That's true.
Mate, I'm taking my coffee making to the next level.
Oh my god!
It's getting pretentious more than it already was.
Yeah, I've
got a coffee scale and everything. A little tamping mat.
Okay.
I've changed to Rave subscription service. I don't know what their beams are like yet, so I can't vouch, but I've been using Pact for a couple of years. And I thought it was time to switch it up, you know?
Yeah, man. I think it's time.
Right, let's post to socials.
Payday 3 is an interesting one. I was a big fan of Payday 2, but then the developers suck. So I wonder how that game's going to go down.
How did it review?
What, Payday 2?
I don't know how the second one reviewed.
Yeah. I think it reviewed
I know we liked it.
Pretty good. I think it was like low 80s. Let's have a look at the Open Critic.
Really? You think it correct 80s?
Oh, well, God, no. Hang on. 70, 69. Thought it did better than that.
That doesn't surprise me. No.
I loved Payday 2. That was great.
The game's definitely got a following, but they didn't review all that well critically. Like us, you know, the loop was just fun. It was kind of like they were a bit roguelitey, weren't they? Come to think of it.
Yeah, they were a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of RNG. Yeah, camera placements were different every time, and guard placements and stuff like that. You know, sometimes you could get like a vault. Sometimes it was like the safes or the money slots. Yeah, you just didn't really know what you were going to get. Or like the jewelry
quite ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the problem was the devs being like, they just eventually stopped updating console just for no good reason. They were like, yeah, they're shit platforms anyway, or something like that.
Yeah, they literally just outright said something really offensive. Yeah.
Yeah, just needlessly alienating like half their player base. But you know, you do you, fam.
Yeah, I'm sure that turned out great for them.
Yeah, right.
I want to be.
You better retweet this.
Why?
It's outreach, man. I need you. I need you.
I need you. I need you.
I need you.
Is that like Daffy? Isn't it? That's at N Dubs.
I don't know. I've got work cut out for you today in terms of putting up B-roll and video in the background. So
come on,
you're
ready. You warn me about this sort of shit.
Look, I'm just trying to make the show entertaining. Don't blame me for this.
Fuck off.
There's a reason we're almost at 50 subs. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I know what you're jawing
You're
about.
vibing with me. Jawing about. Oh my god! Let's not do that again.
You haven't even posted anything.
I haven't. I'm really having a hard time. I keep misclicking. It's difficult. Look, do you have the link to hand? If you do, give it here. Or maybe you do it and I'll fucking
No, I don't have the link to hand. No, you do it.
This is awful. I'm sorry, audio listeners. We'll start the show any second now. Actually, and video listeners as well.
Yeah, both.
It's not like you're looking.
We're
not like you've got anything good to look at.
Both of our posts of listener right now.
Both the audiences, yeah. Okay, copy onto Twitter. I'll tell you what, Tim, hit the button. This is it. We're ready. We're gonna segue into an intro here.
Oh God.
We're
what?
Live, homies.
Okay.
Can I say that? I think I can say that.
I think you can say homies. Yeah. Just everyone will know you're white though.
Appropriation? Yeah, okay, cool. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Quick Cuisine Podcast, your favorite podcast in the world. This is episode 84. Thanks for coming. My name's Deck. That's Tim over there.
Hi, my name's Tim.
Hi, mate. And this is a fun episode. If you've come here, but like if you're a returning listener, great. You know, we love you. If you're not, you're probably here because you saw the whole thing about the Developer Direct and Xbox show. And boy, have we got things to talk about with that. 43 minutes apparently of goodness. You might not have known that, but I know that because I'm an internet gremlin, and that's what we're here for. You know, to do the thinking that you don't have to do, or the scrolling that you don't have to do. You know,
it's very true.
You know, we don't want you to go through that. It's difficult. It's rough out there. It's Wild West. Anyway, Tim, how's it going, mate? How's your life?
Yeah, no, it's going good, man. It's I started a new job since we last spoke, and wait, no, I didn't. Yeah, maybe.
No, I didn't. I don't know.
No, I started last Thursday, so we would have had a podcast in between that, but I don't think I talked about it. But yeah, I'm in a new job. I'm still learning. It's annoying. Yeah, I'm kind of tired, more tired than usual. I kind of moved as well, so I'm living with my partner now. So yeah, that's a lot's happened, but I'm good, man, and I'm excited for all the news that's happened Xbox related this week. So yeah,
I really like the idea of you being like, I got a new job. I started a new job. What's up? Where's it when?
Did I do good? I don't know. I don't remember anything over the last week.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's exciting. We've got, there's actually not that much like this week. There's been like a couple of like rumors and stuff, but I've generally tried to omit that. There's a little bit of ABK in there, just a sprinkling on our, on our slug light skin.
Not allowed to swear.
Careful. Oh, frick.
Sorry, YouTube gods. Yeah.
Oh, freaking heck.
Oh, fudge, man.
It just doesn't feel right. I don't like that at all. This is not a Christian podcast. I'm sorry.
It's not.
But like I want the majority of the show really to be focused on the showcase, what that means, the conversations that have gone on from like, Xbox officials surrounding the show, in terms of like, is this the first of many? Is this their new, smaller show format? Is, 45 minutes, is this that a good length of time? All that good stuff. I think there's some really good conversations to have here about the platform, because we've been asking for something like this for years, in terms of a smaller showcase, and Xbox just can't keep relying on, a big E3 showing and then maybe like a tiny appearance at the TGAs, because like they've been quite active in the last few years. But like they make an appearance at the Tokyo Game Show and then they make an appearance at Eurogamer, but it's all like, here's a trailer you've already seen for a game that is already like, there's never any like real announcement. There's a presence, but it's just kind of like, so lots to talk about, lots to get in, lots to get into there. Tim, I also wanted to say, now that we're on camera, I mean, I don't really think you can see. I've become a mustache boy. I've got a mustache going on.
Oh,
I don't think you can really tell.
Now I can tell it's a bit fuller than the rest of your beard. Yeah, but like until you mentioned it, I wouldn't have guessed. It's still not a patch on mine.
I mean, the reason it looks great. This is the beard this is the beard podcast after all.
It is.
You know, does it are beards in fashion still? I think they are.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, facial hair is way more in fashion than not having facial hair. Like, I find it weird when I see someone that's just completely cleanly shaven. It looks weird to me.
I agree. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's like one of the few things that I latch onto that grounds me in a sense of, like masculinity. Like if I don't have that, honestly, what I feel like I lose a big chunk of my identity. I look so young as well. It's pathetic. Like I look like I'm 13 and I hate it.
I think we're both very similar. Yeah, I feel if I shaved my face, I would actually look 12. Like I could just go to a primary school and just sit down and do a lesson. And that would be weird.
Turn up.
But apart from the fact
that'd be weird for a lot of reasons.
Apart from the fact I'm 6'3", if I walked around on my knees, then I could play it. I could get off as a child.
Yeah. It's tough. It's hard out here for those for white men with beards.
Damn.
Yeah. So I guess we should probably talk about something related to video games and Xbox, right? So let's do that, shall we? Games, video games. The more you eat, the more you play, the more you are happy today. Tim, what have you been playing?
I'm surprised you actually managed to bring that home in some format.
I wasn't sure.
I really thought that was just going to fall on its face, but you at least managed to rhyme it. So fair play.
I'm modern day Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. So what have I been playing this week? I've been doing the normal Overwatch, Slay the Spire stuff. I'm not addicted, by the way. If you read Deck's fucking tweet, he's a liar.
Addicted.
He's a liar. You didn't even at me, did you? You tried to sneak that under my fucking nose. You're such a rat.
You never replied to me anyway.
What? I've been replying actually quite a lot this week. So do one.
You've been doing well this week. I'll give you that. You have been doing well this week.
But yeah, no. So I've been doing Slay the Spire. I'm just kind of interested in just getting all the achievements because I feel like that's the thing about playing something on the Switch. As much as I love, and it's definitely the platform to play it on, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I don't get anything for my time apart from, enjoying it. Whereas Xbox, at least I could just be like, oh, I did that. I completed it with every character. I beat the heart in every character. You can see that. Anyone who looks at my profile could also see that.
Yeah.
When they add more social features.
It's hard evidence. Yes, well, that as well. But you can be like, I loved this game, and you can point to it as proof. Yeah. Here's my, go ahead and do a multiple regression, a stat analysis. It's there. The data is there. Whereas on Switch, it's like, oh, there's hours played. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
you just left it on idle.
And they have the in-game achievements as well, but I don't know, it's kind of not really the same. Yeah. So yeah, I've kind of been playing that, and it's just easy, chill. I don't think I've never not been in the mood to play Slay the Spire. It's just for a quick boot up. It's just such an easy, safe pick.
Yes.
What else have I been playing? I genuinely don't think I've been playing anything else. I don't think I played Octopath this week. Yeah, Ovi. I already said Ovi. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think I've played any Octopath this week. Yeah, I think that's genuinely been it for this week. I'm kind of waiting on some stuff. There's some potential purchases coming up for me between late Jan and Feb, so I'm kind of just bouncing between the games I just already have at the moment. So yeah.
Well, we were talking about this last night, weren't we? There's a lot of it's stealth. I don't know. To me, there's a lot of games that I've forgotten about in this period. Other than the ones that we talk about on a weekly basis, Yeah, there's Wild Hearts, Wolong, Star Wars, Atomic Heart, Resi remaster, remake,
Dead Space.
That's right. Yeah, there's so many, and it's I'm never gonna get to play all these games. So, Game Pass is at this point, because especially, and I mean, I'm sure you'll find this at some point as well, and I mean maybe the listeners can empathize too. But when you have less time, at this time in my life, I feel especially this year I'm going to be really tight for time. Things will loosen up as we go ahead, but when things are in Game Pass, I'm that game's getting prioritized.
Yeah.
Like it pretty much picks the games I'm going to play for me, because I don't have to. Obviously, I don't have to put the money up for it, which is great. But I can like pre-install it with like no guilt. Like, I don't have to go back and forth of like, am I, won't I, and then do it the night before. You know, I know it's going to be ready for me. Yeah, it kind of just selects the games for, and then the other thing is I know it's going to leave at some point, so it's like, you know, there's like time pressure to like have the experience for release.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, yeah, for that reason, Atomic Heart's quite high up there for me, because it's just such a like, it's just like, yeah, there's no like commitment there, right? You know, you just preload it and you just play it. If you hate it, you hate it. If it's shit, it's shit. If it's average, you didn't pay any money for it, so it's kind of fine. You know, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure. I can't remember if I even asked this last night. Is Wolong Games Pass?
Wolong is Game Pass. Yeah, it was a big part of the showcase last year. They were like, look at this, Team Ninja, Japanese support. Look at us go.
I wasn't sure if it was just like Xbox marketing and stuff like that, or if it was Games Pass. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean that's well up there for me as well. I mean, we both love that genre of game. And as much as, like I said I think it literally was last week, I'm not the biggest fan of like a samurai sort of aesthetic, but I feel like this is kind of.
Are you not?
No, wow. that's what turned me off Sekiro a little bit. Like I don't mind it, but I just prefer the sort of high fantasy vibe than like
right.
Like that's why I wasn't that keen on like Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that. Like I'm sure it's a great game and I will get around to playing it, but like the whole like, yeah, it's just not the biggest thing for me. Like same with like Western games. Like I just prefer like space, aliens, high fantasy, that sort of stuff. Like I prefer that sort of aesthetic over like Western, like Red Dead Redemption or like something like Sekiro or anything like that. So, but I will give Wolong a go, definitely. It looks good.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's on the agenda for sure, and I know there's more that I'm missing. But, you know, getting the first quarter, even just the first quarter of the year is looking stacked, and that's if, you know, Xbox doesn't make any announcements, and, you know, if the leaks about Redfall are right, you know, in May, and presumably Starfield's after that. But no, maybe if we're lucky, you know, and Todd has worked some black magic, you know, maybe Starfield's coming out before that. But, you know, I highly doubt. But at the same time, man, I was thinking about this. It's like, is Tears of the Kingdom is like the end of May, isn't it? I think.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely, yeah, it's around that sort of area. Yeah. May, June.
Or maybe mid-May, yeah. And I'm like, God damn, like, I guess maybe that's good for Redfall in the sense that it's coming out before it. If the 2nd of May is the leak date, like, supposedly. I mean, we'll find out at the show next week, but or in 2 weeks, whenever it is. But like it, I guess you can't avoid it to some degree, but I really don't like the idea of another Arcane game, just like nobody trying because Breath of the Wild comes out at the same time. But I mean, I guess, you know, co-op and Game Pass this time. I mean, maybe, you know, we'll see. But
yeah, it tough to say, but it's definitely going to have more outreach than any Arcane game in the past, just because of Games Pass. I mean, we've seen games. Sure. What was the most recent one? Oh yeah, High on Life. You know, that shit came out to really kind of average reviews, oddly enough. And the game literally broke records. So, you know, it's safe to say that the outreach is probably going to be, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if you see a news article being like, this is the highest played Arcane game ever. Because it probably will be.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't review I think like critically that well, you know, I still think you're going to see headlines like that because it's just Games Pass. It's just kind of what it does.
And it brings in people. And it's on one less platform as well. Like I would still put money on it being the most played Arcane game, even though it's not going to be on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Agreed.
So yeah, anyway, let's talk about, well, you know, we'll come back around to a lot of this when we start talking about the show and the developer directs, you know, that thing. I've got things to say, you know, when don't I? This guy right here flapping his lips, but I guess, you know, that's why, you know, put me in front of a microphone and you call it a podcast. You know, give the kid who won't shut up a microphone. It's a podcast, isn't it? No. Yeah, it's fine. Cool. All right. Well, let's start with some of the honorable mentions this week. Tim, The Last of Us TV show has been. The reviews are out. The embargo is lifted. I think it comes out today actually to the public. Maybe later in the day. But it's come out critically very impressive. Very high scores. HBO continue their trend of releasing really, really good shows. It's from like the same team that directed Chernobyl. So this doesn't surprise me. Well, I guess it kind of does, but I'm like less surprised because Chernobyl is like straight up one of the best TV shows I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, so what are your thoughts on kind of the success here? A lot of people, and actually, I'll add on to it before we get into it. A lot of the interviews they were doing beforehand, a lot of the directors were like, "Yeah, we told the actors to not play the games, to like stay away from that," which is what every other game show movie has been like heavily criticized. The fan base are like, everybody needs to be an expert, 2,000 hours played in the game at least. They need to know every single line of dialogue. And so that's been, a big thing. And also this narrative of like the director, I think it was the director, forgive me, correct me if I'm wrong, who said like The Last of Us is the best story ever told in a video game, definitively stamped the mark on that. It's like The Last of Us is the best story ever told in a video game. And that kind of got a lot of people
I don't know about that.
In a bit of a tiff. Right. So I guess we'll come back around to that. So let's just start with reaction first to the reviews and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm happy for it, I'm pretty excited to watch it, and I guess at this point you can safely say that's probably the highest reviewed game related like TV media
live
ever,
adaptation,
right? Yeah, live adaptation.
Maybe not animated.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, maybe not animated.
It's close, like probably animated.
Arcane and
Cyberpunk.
All that, and Cyberpunk
That's right.
probably still pip it, but yeah, obviously, I think the probably best one up until that point was like Witcher, wasn't it? Or pretty much every movie based off a video game sucked. So yeah, it's funny. It's nice to see that people are starting to find their foot in this sort of live adaptation of video games. It's definitely
Are they though?
Well, like I said, with Witcher, and that's been pretty good, and that's probably been the most recent one up until this one, and now this one's even better. You can't argue that it's just getting better at this point, to what it used to be. Definitely an improvement. Well, clearly you have something to say about this. Open up your fat gob of yours. Jesus Christ, man.
No, like you're right. Like you are right. But there is like a big wrinkle to me here, which I think is a legitimately interesting discussion. And I made some tweets about this the other week, and I ended up deleting them because I think they came across really like console warish. That wasn't the intent. So bear that in mind when I say what I'm about to say. Okay. And all the other stuff that comes with "please don't kill me," like don't send bombs to my house, stuff like that. Don't DDoS me. I don't know how I feel about filmic games getting one-to-one live action filmic adaptations. Like, yeah, it's just going to be good because we all agree the script of The Last of Us was really good. The story in that game is very, very good. Mm-hmm. So, like, yeah, and when you copy that and put some good actors to it with the same set pieces and the same plot beats and the same, like, yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, I read a couple of the reviews, and they said that there's some meaningful changes here and there in terms of like there's a couple of like new characters and a couple of different things here and there, but generally the story is followed beat for beat. The same things happen. Yeah, I already know how that show's going to end, and I know how the show's going to start, and I know the things that are going to happen in between, and I just don't know how I feel about this kind of cadence of like, let's make a good filmic game, and then let's remaster that good filmic game, and then let's make a live adaptation with the exact script of that filmic game, and then let's make a sequel to that filmic game. Like, do you know what I mean? I feel like there is some regurgitation going on here. Because it's good. There's clearly a market for things that are high quality, but told repeatedly.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Clearly,
It just, yeah, it's just kind of like at some point you're just flogging a dead horse, right? It's just
right.
there's just a bit
But
much, Yeah.
and there's obviously a market for this in the terms of like it might pull people into the IP that wouldn't have gone near video games, but like, oh, this looks interesting, and look, it's been reviewed, and now as a result of liking the show, they're like, oh, you know what? There's a PlayStation 4 Pro or PS5 that's quite cheap, and maybe I'll get that with The Last of Us bundle, which comes with the two of them or the three of them if there's another third one at some point. There's a transmedia effect there that I understand the benefit of regurgitating the show, the game as a show to bring people in, but as gamers, who I presume are the primary audience for the game, I don't. That's what I mean. There's just like a bit of like rocky ground about like I don't know how I feel about this, because now it's like it's the same thing going to happen with a Horizon show. It's the same thing going to happen with Ghost of Tsushima show. Are we just going to get? Oh yeah, even while on Microsoft side. Although having said that, I still think Sony's approach is better than Xbox's approach with Halo. So, I'd rather it be samey but good than different but bad, So, yeah, those are my reservations on it. It's but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of it's a bit of a double-edged blade, isn't it? Because like if you don't, then people are going to be like, oh, they should have just stuck to the source material. It's so good anyway. Like, why change it? Which is basically what everyone said about Halo. And then if you do it in the sense of like it's like a continuation of the story, or like it's a branch off or something like that, then you've got this whole issue where you have to like consume multiple types of the media to get the full story, and a lot of people won't like that. Like, oh, you have to play the games, but then if you watch the show, you get some tidbits on like Joel's past or what Joel was doing here when he in this point of the game and stuff like that, and then it becomes like it's just kind of weird. So the safest bet is to kind of just retell it in its own sort of filmatic like format, and like
safe.
It's definitely the safest bet, where you're not going to get any backlash for it, and then you can still do it well. But then I understand, it's hard to motivate yourself as you that's played the games to like sit down and watch the show knowing how it's gonna start and finish. It's just like you start to question, is this worth 9 hours of my time to watch this
that's right,
when I already know what it is. But then equally it is going to feel different to the game as well. Like I do think even if you know how it starts and finishes, the experience will be different. So yes. I agree with you, but I also think you're being a bit harsh as well, because it will feel different.
That's not to say like obviously like I'm gonna watch this at some point, I don't doubt at all. But I can't deny that my excitement is deflated because I'm like, I know what happens in this show. I think Pedro Pascal is a good actor, and I think what's her name, Bella Ramsey, she was in Game of Thrones, she showed a lot of potential, and a lot of people are saying she was a really good fit for the role. I think that's all exciting. I'm like, cool, that's like enough, I think, to make me interested in the show. But I'm more excited to show it to my wife, who hasn't played the game, who gets to experience that story, because it's a very good story. But I just think that it is very safe, and there is like a degree of risk aversion there that Sony have been leaning into for a while now, like the last 5 years. It's like, we're gonna make a director's cut, and now we're gonna make a sequel that's like very like similar to its predecessor. Like that's me. I'm not like, those are common criticisms of like Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, that they are a bit samey. They're still very good, but they are a bit samey. And now we're gonna copy Xbox's subscription service because we need to do that. And there's just this very degree of like risk aversion, I think, going on at PlayStation headquarters at the moment. And there's a reason why I still think, like, because like you're saying, like, how do you, like, do you go for this extended universe kind of approach with a TV show or an adaptation or a live adaptation, whatever, or a movie? And I just think that the way Arcane had more flexibility because there was lore in the game, but that game didn't really tell a story. So maybe that's a harder analogy to draw here. But Cyberpunk, on the other hand, I think was like near perfect. It was like, it didn't try and tell the story of V. It told a story. in the universe that was totally independent, and it made a couple of references that weren't forced to like some of the things that happen or that you hear about in the game, that made it all feel really connected. And that's obviously a lot riskier, but it really paid off because you feel like you're learning more about the universe, and it makes you really want to go back to the cyberpunk universe because it's kind of like, I feel like I have a more rounded understanding of the world now and the people there, and like I understand these perspectives a bit better. Whereas I don't know if you can say the same about a one-to-one adaptation. Like after watching The Last of Us show, am I going to go want to play Last of Us game again? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, I just think it's just an interesting. I don't know if we've seen this sort of approach before. I guess maybe is where I would end this. Like I think that they're taking that one-to-one adaptation approach is really interesting. It's obviously very safe, but it's obviously effective because all of PlayStation's like writers are really good for the most part. You know, like especially over at Naughty Dog with The Last of Us, they just tell good stories. So yeah, like it's going to be good, and that's great. Overall, it's great for the industry. So, but it's an interesting little thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, agreed.
So the other side to this, Tim, was what I said before. Like I said, the directors, and it's got people in a bit of a huff, and it's been a bit of a controversy for the last few weeks. So I just thought, I'd bring it to the show. That the director was saying, The Last of Us is like cut and dry, like case closed. Like he said something to that effect. I can't remember. Like case closed, open and closed. The Last of Us is the best story ever told in a video game. And I was like, have you played? Is this the only video game you've played? That and Mario, like,
Mario's better.
Like, it's very good. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we get to save Princess Peach for the 6,000th time, and there are mushroom people and Goombas. That's scary stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think about that statement?
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you. I think Last of Us has got a great story. Don't get me wrong. I'm very aware of the story. I haven't played it, but so yeah, I do get that. But the best story ever told? I don't know, man. You could kind of just boil it down to zombie apocalypse. Spoilers, by the way. You can kind of just boil it down to like zombie apocalypse, dad-daughter relationship, she's secure. Like, there's not really like an insane amount going on, and that's been done a lot in movies. Like, I've seen multiple movies, post-apocalyptic movies, where it turns out that like the main character's the cure, their blood is the key for the cure. It's not anything that hasn't been done before. Let's be real.
The main character's got to learn how to love a young person. Like the gruff, stoic main character.
Yeah, it's like this shit hasn't. It's been done before many a time, and Last of Us does do it very well. Don't get me wrong, and it has its own spin on a lot of the stuff, but like, it's not the best story ever told. No.
So you think it's a bit cliche, as a story? Yeah, full stop.
When you boil it down to what it is, and yeah, the story is quite cliche. The main overarching story is quite cliche. I think they do a good job with characters, relationships, and that sort of stuff. But like, main actual plot, it's kind of cliche. Let's be real.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from. So like, am I right in thinking that that's like probably a criticism you'll have of the TV show as well?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like, this was my angle, right? Of like what I thought was wrong with that sort of statement. Yeah, the best story in a video game ever. It doesn't leverage any unique elements of the medium, and for me, that disqualifies it from ever being in that conversation.
Doesn't push the boundaries.
You could make the argument it's one of, you could make an argument it's one of the best stories ever told in TV, and I wouldn't argue with you on that because if that's your opinion, that's fine. But it doesn't use the video games in the way that BioShock did, the way that The Outer Wilds did, Nier Automata, Hellblade, Immortality. All of these games that could
Viva
only
Pinata.
be told for a video. Viva Pinata, exactly. Transformers: The Rise of Dark Spark. All of these classics that we know that really subvert, your expectations of the story. So you all know what I mean. Like the example of Bioshock being, that you were kind of being manipulated the whole time by dialogue that was being fed to you, by making you go and do things, and then that's sort of like you're interacting with it, and the story leverages that in some way. It gives you like a big sense of autonomy, not just telling a story in the way, other than having shooty segments. If you have shooty segment, cutscene, shooty segment, cutscene, like that's very linear and that's very filmic, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it just, to me, disqualifies it from being in that upper echelon of best stories told in a video game, because it doesn't leverage the things that a video game uniquely allows you to do, because arguably those are the ones that have the biggest impact.
Plus, I think kind of environment and where it's set has a big play on that, because I think Last of Us is just set in just like a real world scenario, right? Where is it, like New York, or is it like?
I've got no idea.
Or is it like
I don't San know. Francisco? I don't know.
Is it San Fran? It's a real place that's just gone post-apocalyptic, right? And then you look at something like fucking, like, again, I'm going to bring it back to Bioshock, like Rapture. Like, oh my god, yes, that place is so fucking cool. Like so creative, the way it looks, the lore behind it, what happened there, all of that. It's just so sick, man. Like that's way cooler than just San Fran has zombies and the grass is long. Like
mushroom zombies.
Yeah, like I do think that environment and just creating a whole new world has a big aspect on the story as well, and how it's told and perceived. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily feel the same way, but I do understand what you're saying. So yeah, that it got people in a bit of a tiz, but fun nonetheless. Overall, I think we're all in agreement. That's fantastic. This is good for the industry overall. Hopefully, a lot of people kind of look at some of the success here, and I don't know if I would want a lot of shows to like. Okay, fuck. This is actually a really good segue, and I totally forgot about this. The Fallout show, right? This is arguably Xbox's next premier TV, and it's a live adaptation. I think from what I can tell, like the cast is looking reasonably strong. So is the sort of like directing and producing team as well. I can't remember any previous work off the top of my head right now. I know Walter Goggins is in it. Walter Goggins?
I don't know.
That guy?
From where?
That's a weird name. I can't remember anything that he's in, but he's a guy. He's a guy that you recognize when you see him. He's like a B-list actor. Anyway, he's pretty good. Would you, with that game, what story do you want told with the Fallout adaptation? You tell me.
Walter Goggins. I just googled him. Yeah, I know him.
Walter Goggins. Yeah. Such a good name.
Sorry, what was your question?
Sons of Anarchy, that's what he's in. You tell me what you would like out of the, like, with all of this in mind, the Arcane, Cyberpunk, and now, The Last of Us. I guess Halo is in that mix as well somewhere as, an example of mid. Like, how would you like the Fallout live adaptation to be handled? Like, just a copy of Fallout 3, or like its own thing in the universe somewhere? Like, what is your preference?
I don't know, to be honest. It's quite a tough one for me, because like Fallout 3 was a long time ago now, so I do think a retelling of the story in like a TV live adaptation like formula could actually be pretty cool. And Fallout 3 did have a really good story as well, and the fact that it's so old now, I think a lot of people might have forgot that, or like put it to the back of their brains, and it might be quite nice to sort of see that in like a different format. But then equally, I do think if you just because Fallout, at the end of the day, you kind of just play like a guy, a protagonist. He's not he's not Kratos, he's not Joel, he's just a guy, so you can literally just kind of make a story wherever you want. You're just a wastelander, you're just in the apocalypse. You can kind of make you can kind of make it like Walking Dead sort of vibes. Each season have like a different sort of like overarching villain or issue or something like that, as you go to these different towns, and What was the town called in Fallout 4, sorry, the first one you went to that had like the bomb hanging in it.
Oh,
The first
Fallout
one.
4.
Yeah, Fallout
Oh,
4. It had like the bomb inside the city.
you're talking about like was that 4 or was that 3?
I don't know. I feel like it was 4.
4 was like Crystal City or something, Diamond City or some shit like that.
Oh, okay,
I think.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, you can create all these, all these areas and just tell your own story in them. But I would like it to definitely be obviously quite gritty and quite dark, and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I feel like that's a necessary thing for Fallout. If you're going to do a live adaptation of it, but really, I don't have a preference. Like, I wouldn't mind if they retold the Fallout 3 story because it's been such a long time, and I wouldn't mind if they did their own spin on it. Personally, I think you got a lot of wiggle room with a franchise like Fallout. So
Definitely, definitely, and I guess maybe I think the Fallout comparison is kind of analogous to Cyberpunk in a way, because they're these open world games with a lot of choice, especially arguably Fallout 3 more so, in the sense of how the story diverges based on your decisions. There's a lot of choice based, on that spectrum of filmic and linear, and then on the other end of the spectrum, like choice based and autonomous. Fallout is more in the latter. It's not linear. It's not really that filmic. So I think trying to tell that exact story is going to be quite difficult, obviously, because it depends on what the player chose and did through that story. Unless you land on one string of it being canon, I think there's an opportunity to tell a story in the universe, which is quite appealing. So
definitely,
yeah, we'll have to see. Really, we'll have to see.
Indeed.
Cool. All right. Well, that's The Last of Us. What time are we on?
Surprisingly,
40
we've been
minutes.
talking for about 40 minutes already. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Time flies when you're speaking to good friends.
Yeah,
Please be nice to me. Don't say something mean.
Sure. Yeah. Good friends to tweet behind your back.
Okay, we got the rumor section. The rumor section. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Nice.
Tim, last night, the Xbox Era podcast went live, and they spoke about Scalebound. Spoke about a possible Scalebound revival with Platinum Games. It's early days. This is like big grain of salt. Is that the expression? A big grain of salt.
I think they say take it with like a pinch of salt, a grain of salt. I don't know, actually. You
big
got me.
Pinch of salt. Kind of a single grain, like a massive singular grain. It's just a rock.
It just looks like it's just a big old crystallized rock.
It's just a rock. Yeah. So fuck, I can't believe we're back here. Honestly, this is, like I said, this is big pinch of salt.
I want it.
But you really do?
I want it, dude. You give me a fucking anime DMC style. I have a fucking soul bonded dragon with me. I'm taking that shit. I'm a big fan of those kind of games.
That's great, and that's great, but there's too much baggage. This game is too much baggage.
They'll build it from the ground up using like a different engine and stuff like that. Now they'll use like Unreal fucking whatever number we're on, 5, 6.
You don't know that.
They will.
For 5.
They're not gonna fucking. They're not gonna release it with its 2014 fucking graphics deck.
They might do. You really think that after what happened with Platinum, they're going to be like, yeah, you fucking just fucking control, like delete that, drag it to the bin, and make it again from the ground up? If I'm Phil and like I'm, in order to like be cost effective, I'm going to be like, you take what you already built, make it run at above 30 frames, make it look good, and then we'll have a conversation.
Maybe. I don't think it was as far on as everyone thought it was, though. It wasn't like it was releasing and then they canned it. Like, we saw like some gameplay fucking reels of it.
Oh, put it on the B-roll.
Oh. We saw some like gameplay reveals of it, and we never even got a release day. and then it was just done. It's not like everyone seems to like think that this project was like out the door and it was fucking finished. Like, I swear it wasn't that far along. Where's the B-roll? What am I doing? Where?
Just go to YouTube and just type fucking Scalebound gameplay. I don't know. Put it on the background.
I don't like your fucking attitude.
Look, it was in development from 2013. You are. Look, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. It was development from 2013 and then cancelled in 2017. So it had 4 years of development. This game wasn't far off.
Nah. It had 3 years of concept art, 1 year of development. I worked at Scalebound.
Could be very true. Based on the frames it was running at, you might be right. And like, yeah, overall, I'm like, just let this die, because I feel like it's a lose-lose. I'm with you, man. Like, in concept, this was some cool shit. You could get a dragon arm. You could get dragon breath. You had a friend dragon who helped you in combat. You rode the dragon. Do you know what I mean? This is great. This all sounds great. But then in the gameplay, it was like a bit floaty. There was popping. The frames were really not stable.
Because it was early. It was early footage.
That's the only silver lining I can find here, is that maybe the hardware just wasn't good enough to support the ambition with Scalebound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe there's like actually a chance that Hideki Kamiya, lead on the game, went back to Phil and he was like, look how monstrous the Xbox Series X is. Ooh, it's so big, Senpai. It's so big and warm and round. And maybe it could run Scalebound now, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the only silver lining I can find here in terms of like this being grounded in any sort of reality, that if there was something to leverage against the criticism of the gameplay that we saw, it was that it performed really badly, and therefore the modern Series S and X might be a remedy to that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if they just like I'm looking at the gameplay right now, and it's not the ugliest looking thing anyway. And if you can polish this up and get this running at 60 with the beefy Uwu Series X, and you can have this running at a consistent 60, this shit drops into Game Pass. You don't need to drop 70 quid on this game. Like, it could still be pretty fire, man. And like the concept is great. Like I said, this whole like cool anime fucking DMC style, I have a pet dragon shit. Like, it's awesome. Dragon's Dogma kind of vibes.
I like it. Yeah, it is Dragon's Dogma kind of vibes. You're right. And I'm watching the gameplay, and it's like, it looks fun, man. Like, it looks like there's a good game here. There is a good game here. But it just, there's like some of the AI looks kind of wonky, the frames look off, but it's pretty and the gameplay looks fun. And, it's like you said, there's some novelty there in terms of having a fucking dragon. Like, there is a lot of coolness here. There's a lot to like, but I think what is really interesting, you may recall this kind of public reaction, that when this game was shown off in 2013, this was shown off, I think, either the Xbox One launch year. This was quite hyped to watch at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the public, like the temperature on it was quite mild. It was like, this looks okay. This looks okay. It was quite mixed, I think, for the reasons that we've already outlined, and then when the game was cancelled, everybody was like, oh my God, this looked so good. Do you know what I mean? There's so many like people fucking astroturfing, pretending like they cared in the first place. That's what it felt like anyway, because there was a mismatch between the reaction when the game was announced versus when it was cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, look at this fighting giant bug, dude. Look at this.
Yeah,
look at this. Bug. It looks cool, man. I always thought this game looked cool.
It does look cool.
Yeah, release it like it is with frames. I'm still happy with like 60 frames. You give it a bit of an overhaul and try and shift some of the assets into a new engine, you got yourself a pretty sick game here. Like, if you're willing to pump more budget into it and say this is now doable with the consoles, I think either way, like you've either got a quick win here that ends up being a solid like mid-70s game or something, or like, like I said, you could genuinely just try and shift quite a lot of this into like a new engine, perhaps, and
yeah,
you can make something pretty spectacular here, potentially. So I don't think it's a bad route to take. Like, whether you go for the cost-effective route or the more expensive route, I don't think it's too bad a route.
I guess like there's part of me which is like, it seems that there's been like a real renewed focus on Xbox in the last couple of years to like make sure that they have a higher quality bar. Like after the second half of the Xbox One generation with Recore and Crackdown and at least the launch window of Sea of Thieves and Master Chief Collection, the list of the platform holders games that just flopped should not be that long. Like that's really embarrassing. And you add that to a couple of cancellations and closures, whether it was Scalebound or Lionhead Studios closing down. Fable Legends was another one. And it's such a bad look. And I just get the sense that the last few years Xbox have been like, we're delaying now. We know the amount of money. Like Microsoft is fully backing Xbox now. We're delaying Starfield. We're like Xbox's marquee game, and we're going to have a dry ass 2022 because of it. But this game needs to be critically well received. Same with Redfall. They delayed Halo Infinite off the launch of the console, man. They had it was on the box. It was on the box.
Yeah.
And like, do you know what I mean? Like, so it seems to me that there's a commitment for them to swallow their pride and be like, no, this isn't ready. We need to delay this at all costs. Like we need to build up reputation again. And like there's just part of me that's like Scalebound is like drags the conversation back to that.
Like
and I just feel like and it's like in the 1% chance that they, get, let's say, I don't know, 4 years to fully reboot Scalebound. Maybe they make use of the old assets and that can speed up the they've already got the concept art. And they nail it, and it's like 85 Metacritic, and that Xbox fans are elated because it's like, wow, look at this nostalgic game that we've spoken about for years and years and years, and it's back, and this is new Xbox, and look at them using the money to like bring back these. I still think that's kind of the odds of that being a full success is so low compared to like a mediocre Scalebound that comes out. And then everyone's like, why did Xbox bother revisiting this? It starts like questioning the decision making again. Why did they bother doing that? Or they reboot it and we're talking about it for another fucking 8 years. And it's like, I wish they just put their resources on a new IP onto a competent team rather than back into Platinum, who've clearly pissing Xbox around. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of opportunity for, I think, things to go wrong. And that's what keeps me hesitant about this.
It is unlikely, don't get me wrong, but I'm definitely on the bandwagon of I'd like to see it come back. But everyone has their own view on these things, This is more my style of game. I like it.
No, I like the look of this, man. I like the look of this. And I remember watching the trailers. I remember watching the trailers and being like, this looks awesome. The frames aren't there. But other than that, this like even visually, it looks pretty good. I can't lie. Like it does look pretty good visually.
It's not a bad game.
And it looks fun. And, I guess maybe part of the other part of this as well, I remember when they had showed it for the second year running or something. And then they showed like some weird multiplayer. Remember that? This game multiplayer.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Supposedly, that was Microsoft at the time trying to force co-op onto everything pretty much. Fable Legends. This game does not need co-op. Look at this.
Yeah, no,
it was like the same person. It was like the multiverse of like this guy. Yeah. So I would be okay with them just like cutting that. Let Platinum do them. It's quite funny because at the time Xbox was trying to upscale into more multiplayer and more co-op, but now it's the other way around. Where Xbox needs. Oh, is it? Yeah. Xbox needs more single player games. You know what I mean? So it's such a tricky fucking thing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Plus, mate, I don't want to think what this game would run at when I have 2 or 3 mates also with giant dragons on my screen and in my game.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I suppose like it is kind of. It could also be like that marquee Japanese game as well. Like, I can see the use case for this happening. It's just that there's so much scope for it to go wrong. Because I think Scalebound is kind of like what's the expression? Horn of Gondor. Scalebound is the Horn of Gondor. Yeah, for for Xbox gamers. Like a bit, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. It was kind of I do agree. People blew it out of proportion. It was kind of nothing, and then as everything with gaming news and just everything like that. As soon as something turns negative, that's when it gets the spotlight. I will agree with you on that. But yeah, I mean overall, I think this is pretty unlikely. But I'd be pretty accepting to it. Personally.
I'd be interested. It would need so much quality control because they couldn't fuck this up a second time. It's just such a bad look to fuck it up a second time. That's ultimately.
And it's a bad look to also revisit it and have it come out at like a fucking 60 as well. So it's like, yeah, it's too risky, and I think Xbox are kind of past those days now of taking these risks. Especially on a project that's already failed once. That's kind of like the old Xbox.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Scalebound, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that heated conversation. I'm sure like every Xbox fan like kind of feels quite strongly about Scalebound in some way because, like I said, it really was the stamp of like, fuck, things are falling apart.
Yeah.
And like, because it had so much potential. But yeah. Very quickly before we move on to the main stories, then there is a rumor floating around at the moment, and this comes from Xstasis on Twitter. I believe he's a Spanish user. He's had like a decent record with inside information. We spoke about him on the show before. That I think it was him anyway. Sorry if I got that wrong. That Microsoft are going to be showing something at the Super Bowl on February the 12th, which would be interesting.
Probably that new controller.
I wonder what they'd show. You think? What with the touchscreen on it?
Yeah,
that wasn't even a touchscreen, was it? Just an LCD OLED, rather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder what they're going to show.
What
do you think they're going to show, Deck?
Oh, I wonder. I'm struggling to think of something they would Starfield.
Nah, I think it's going to be the Scalebound reboot. Imagine.
Do you think that's their time?
Yeah, it'll probably be Starfield. Yeah. Considering it costs like I think like advertising time in the Super Bowl is the most expensive form of advertising in the entire world. Like literally like 10 seconds of that is like millions.
Many dollars.
So yeah, I'll probably be
I think it's quite interesting because I don't know if Xbox have ever had any sort of presence, or Microsoft have had any sort of presence at the Super Bowl before. I think somebody did. Something was shown a couple years back. I think I really can't remember what it was, but I remember me and you talking about it being at the Super Bowl. Some game thing. I can't remember what it was. If it was Xbox or if it was PlayStation, I really can't remember. But it would be promising, honestly, if they were looking at this, because we've repeatedly said that Xbox needs to have its marketing in more mainstream places. Like I feel like they've lent a bit too heavily into like neo marketing. I don't know what they fucking call it, but that's what I'm calling it. Like virality and word of mouth and Twitter. Rather than like I said this to you when God of War was coming out when I was driving into city centre, Birmingham. There's massive signs up, massive, like on the side of buildings. Like I'm talking like 30-foot sized posters, bigger. It was on the side of buses, and people see that shit. Like I don't know. I feel Xbox needs presence like that.
Yeah, I feel like they do a good for their big games, especially like Halo Infinite and Gears. I remember seeing a lot of TV ads for those. And stuff like that, but nothing outside of like you said, they don't have anything on like like buildings or posters or anything like that, or yeah, just different forms of advertising. It's kind of TV, or like you said, they just do word of mouth, a bit of social media, Twitter marketing. They market on their own platforms, like their own website and their own dashboards for Xbox and stuff like that, but it doesn't really go much deeper than that. Yeah, no, I do agree they could improve in those sort of areas, especially for the likes of Redfall and Starfield and stuff like that, when they want to turn around their image on these games. So
definitely, I think the only counter argument really I can think of is obviously with, like you said, the price being so high. Like, could they more effectively spend this? And I'm sure that's internally those are the conversations Xbox like have. Like, what's the point in us spending this much money on, a minute TV spot when we could pay people to do the marketing here and get influencers to talk about the game for 15 minutes and shit like that. So, but nonetheless, it's less to do with that and more that there's I think they're missing key demographics by not doing the real world stuff.
Yeah, so agreed.
Rad. Okay then, Tim, it's the main story time. Oreo.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this one.
Oreo.
Xbox fucking Oreos, dude. Now, this is the form of marketing Oreo. I can get behind. This is what I call pseudo marketing. Putting fucking Starfield on an Oreo. Let's go.
I don't know. Maybe Todd will find a way to make Skyrim playable on an Oreo. Tabletop. They're like counters or something.
Yeah, it'd be so good, yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Skyrim now playable on Oreos.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's funny.
The reason that this was really funny was because like Windows Central, Jez Corden had just leaked the show. I think they just leaked the developer direct show, and everyone was like, "Announcements coming soon. It's got to be real." Everyone in the community is getting anxious and biting their nails. Like, it's got to be real. Like, it's got to be. And then Xbox make a big announcement that they've partnered with Oreos, and there's a B button on some Oreos and an X button on some Oreos, and everyone was like, "This can't be it." But obviously the official announcement came, I think, a day later of the developer directs. But man, just talking about fucking marketing, man. What is it with Xbox and doing weird partnerships with food products? I don't know. Does this work? It feels weird to me.
Oh yeah, because they had the Xbox Krispy Kreme, didn't they?
The Xbox Krispy Kreme. They did energy drink, like a Conquer energy drink. Couple months ago. It was called the Big Poo or something like that. I don't remember. It was it's really fucking stupid. And they've done a lot of stuff like this. Xbox shoes. I don't know if this is a good use of budget, to be honest. I don't really understand.
Oreo's a big dude. They're some of the biggest cookies in the world. You get your fucking logo on an Oreo, you're going places.
So we can do that.
No, we can't. You just hear what I said. Really? It's one of the biggest cookies in the world, Deck. We're not even close to Oreo. We can maybe get our logo on a fucking a blue ribbon or something. Maybe.
Maybe at best, if we're lucky, on a hobnob, on the back of a hobnob.
No, hobnobs are big. Stop naming big cookies there. Get your head out of the cookie jar.
Shit, aren't they? They fucking suck.
Just because you don't like hobnobs, Deck, it doesn't mean they're a tiny, weeny cookie. You're not the only person on the fucking planet.
Not to me. Look, when I go to the negotiating table and they're like, "Okay, we'll cut you a deal for 1.5 million. I'm going to say, look, I don't like hobnobs personally. So how about we bring that down to £10? Deal. Spit on my hand. Deal.
They're all whispering I mean, he doesn't like Oreo. He doesn't like hobnobs.
He doesn't like hobnobs.
Yeah, he did say that on the. All right. Yeah, deal. Tenner.
Yeah, that's fair enough. We've got to respect your opinion on the matter.
Yeah.
Oats not for you. Give you a sore tum. 10.
Personally, we kind of hate hobnobs.
We've been trying to change this formula for years, but there are some sickos out there that are just addicted to the stuff. So really, it's our main business.
I don't trust anyone that likes a hobnob over a digestive. Personally,
I don't know. Me and Beth just had this conversation this morning, and it's offended my very nature.
What, she likes hobnobs over digestives?
She prefers hobnobs over digestives. Yes, it's concerning, right? That's like sociopath level.
Yeah. That's pretty fucked, Beth. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it is. Do Americans have rich tea biscuits?
I love rich teas.
I think they're pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, rich teas are great. One of my
Malted
favorites.
milk?
Yeah, big fan of malted milk. I like my basic biscuits that just go well with the tea.
Yes.
Yeah, just simple.
Yes.
They're not overindulgent. They're just good, man. You know what I really like?
I agree. Go on.
One of the Viennese fingers, with the chocolate in the middle, and those are
it's like shortbread.
Yeah, those are fucking fire, dude. Those are so good.
I know. Yeah, I know very little about Vienna. I mean, I think Vienna's the capital of Austria, right?
It's Thailand, isn't it?
Is that right? Thailand, that's the one. But I tell you what, I do know. They make some fucking good biscuits.
They do. They make a good biscuit.
Yeah. Fox's biscuits, I would say, are the best brand. That's like premium, high tier.
Yeah. Fox have got
Top
some good
tier
biscuits behind them.
They do. Did custard creams come before Oreos? This is really stimulating conversation.
Yeah, custard creams came
before.
Did. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Anyone who didn't know we were a British podcast now know we're a British podcast.
What the fuck is a custard cream? Why are you putting cream in your custard? That's just overkill. Custard cream.
You don't trust me?
Now I'm like, no. I do trust you. I'm more thinking like, did Oreos copy custard creams?
Or bourbons?
Yeah, but obviously bourbons are a bit more chocolatey. I just feel like they're more of a copy of what are they called? Custard creams. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think custard creams patterned the no one else can fill a biscuit with cream.
Well, no, but it's like vanilla. It's like white vanilla filling. That's like where my head's at with this.
Yeah, and custard creams have a custard filling.
What?
It's like a custard cream. It's not vanilla cream. Yeah, we're really going on a tangent here.
We're in the weeds here. It's okay. Here we go. A custard cream is a type of sandwich biscuit popular in the United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland, filled with a creamy custard flavored center.
There you go.
Traditionally, hang the fuck on! Traditionally, they're filling with buttercream, but nowadays, cheaper fats have replaced butter in mass-produced biscuits. The filling tastes of vanilla, and as such, is more akin to the taste of custard made with custard powder and egg custard. Okay, so we're somewhere in the middle here.
No, we're not.
It tastes of vanilla. What do you mean? It tastes of vanilla. It says it right there. I'm literally poking my screen. It tastes of vanilla.
God's sake, man.
There is vanilla, man.
Seriously.
What is custard? What's the flavor of custard?
All right, we're getting deep here, man. That's like just saying, what's the flavor of anything, Nick? How do I describe the flavor of raspberry?
Vanilla. No, it's not. Custard is not naturally occurring. You can't go to a tree and squeeze custard out of it. Hang on. It's
oh my God.
Is custard vanilla?
Dude, Beth just typed hobnobs for life in the chat. Can I ban from here? Can I block?
No, I don't think you can. Oh yeah, I think you could actually.
Yeah, I could.
Anorexic cookies for us in North America. Look, I know, mate. It's okay. Look, well, I'm not going to be that guy, but sandwich biscuits. That's essentially the topic here. And
can we talk about the direct now, please?
I'm not okay. What's the flavor of custard?
Deck. Custard is its own thing. It's like a branch off from vanilla or something. I don't know, but it's its own
Main
thing.
ingredients: milk, cream, egg yolk, sugar, vanilla. It's vanilla, man. It is vanilla.
So many things have vanilla in it. You need to just chill out.
No, I don't.
Just because something has vanilla in the ingredients, it doesn't mean it's vanilla. Like, your argument is so odd.
No, it's not. It's not. If custard cream, if the cream in custard cream is custard flavor, what's the flavor of custard? The flavor of custard is vanilla. Therefore, the flavor involved in custard cream is vanilla. That means it's similar to Oreos, I think.
I'm about to.
This is what you tell me that Oreos
podcast. I'm about to just get up and walk out.
This is
buy a load of Oreos and fucking eat them.
And this is the only opportunity we're ever going to get to have a semi-related biscuit conversation.
No, we could do this privately.
Not come twice.
We do not need to use airtime for this. This is ridiculous.
Airtime. It just says it's sweet cream filling in Oreos. It doesn't say vanilla. That's weird.
So
Oreo
this entire thing has been invalid. This entire.
There's a tag about an Oreo boycott in 2015.
Really? That's why Xbox jumped in and partnered with them.
Vanillin.
So let's talk about the Developer Direct showcase coming up. Rumored to come up on the 25th of Jan.
No, it's not rumored. It's been confirmed.
It's been confirmed. And it's kind of weird that there's an underscore in the name, but I think that's because it's a Developer Direct, and underscore is a very used symbol in coding. Developing. I think that's what they're going for. I genuinely think that's what it is.
That's a fair point. I just didn't like how you were saying it. It was really, I didn't like assertive, Tim. Quite frightening, actually.
Well, you were only talking about fucking biscuit filling, so I had to take over.
Look, it's okay. Look, we're fine. It's okay. I'm sorry. We can move on.
Close the tabs. I can still see your eyes jotting over to it. Close the tabs.
Get to the bottom of this. Yeah, okay. Right, let's do it. Let me make a timestamp, and then we can talk about something actually, relevant. What are we on? 1, 12, 3, great. Okay, yeah. Fucking Xbox Developer Direct, man. We did it. We've got a little show around Xbox coming up. I hate that name. I hate that name. I don't
think it's that bad.
I hate that name for as many fingers as I have. I hate it 10 times.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I think it's kind of catchy. Developer Direct. It's just like, it kind of does what it says on the tin. It's like, I don't know. I feel like fucking Nintendo's like Treehouse is fucking worse. Like what? what even is that?
I don't know. At least it has some personality. I
fucking Treehouse.
Maybe I feel different after seeing it, but like the competitors for the contemporaries are Nintendo Direct and State of Play. One of these is not like the others. It doesn't have it's not an Xbox show.
I thought you had to go off into a song there. One of these is not like the others. That you had to do Pretender.
Yeah. Xbox, so the bloody pretenders here, like, because if you're an onlooker and you see a show called Developer Direct,
it sounds quite technical and a bit kind of boring, I guess. Maybe it doesn't.
It sounds like a dev
update.
Yeah, like a dev update or like a dev. Sometimes they do those conferences. Yeah, and like it doesn't. Why is it not Xbox Developer Direct? That would make this better for me. I don't know. It just seems so silly. State of Play has Play in it.
Yeah, like Yeah, I was about to say Xbox Direct, but literally it's just Nintendo Direct. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. They could have definitely done better on the naming convention, but I don't hate it. Like, I think it's just
why is there an underscore?
because it's fucking developer. It's like it's coding. I think that's genuinely what they were going for. I think that's like the theme.
No, I guess I understand your point. I just think it's stupid.
My God, the way you said that.
I like burp slipped out as I said it. Sorry. What is that?
It's
Is that
fucking
TV?
lads chanting out my window.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you get their attention? What do they think about the developer direct? Can you ask? Or maybe custom screens.
I don't want to. They could hurt me. I don't want to do it. They seem very, very jolly for 2 in the afternoon on Sunday.
Yeah, a bit too jolly, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, although I will say, maybe can you just put the key art up on the screen? Because I do think the key art is quite cute. Like the little animation they had, I think they had like a little GIF when they announced it, and the little Xbox got drawn on by a little pen and the little Bethesda sign. I thought that was quite cute. I think the key art is quite cute, and the way it's like on a whiteboard, or like a whiteboard, and they've got some key art there for some of the games. I quite like that. I quite like the format of that. I think that's quite cute. I just the name is just not doing it for me. But like I said, maybe after the show, like the point of the show is that it has no host, Tim. I don't know if that's new information to you. There's no host. It's just the devs at the studio.
Yeah.
Is that good for you? Or do you need a host? Do you need somebody to be making jokes about silly shit?
I think I'm quite happy with them just going from studio to studio and them giving us updates on how they're working and, what the game's looking like. Maybe some new reels. I'm pretty happy with that. I'd rather hear from the people actually making the game rather than some guy reading off some fucking cards in his hands. Yes.
And I think like this is a lot of feedback that the team has gotten about their shows, that we don't need, like, there's a time and a place for hosts, but oftentimes there's got to be someone charismatic on the team to actually just like speak to the camera, and tell me what's exciting about your game. And I think that often, like the Nintendo Directs and the state of plays, they always do that sort of thing where it's just like the devs will give us a 10-minute walkthrough. These are the characters. This is the customization, and then it cuts to the some gameplay. I think that's a good approach. Like they literally went out of their way to say that there's no host; it's just devs talking, and that obviously is in line with the naming convention. That it's giving devs a chance to talk about their game, and they don't have to have a host that they don't know, try and mediate that between the host and between the developers and the viewer.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's good overall. Yeah. Listening to feedback clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the other thing here is that I can't remember the exact word. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So Aaron Greenberg, tweeted and quote tweeted us firstly, your boys, Quick Resume Podcasts.
Let's go.
Because we said we were going to live stream it. First and foremost, hearts out to you, Greenie. One with the team. He also spoke about the show on a number of different levels. For example, he quote tweeted and said, "Join us on January 25th for our first developer direct. A new approach with no hosts to share the magic of being inside our studio, seeing extended gameplay and hearing directly from the dev teams working hard on some of the games coming for you." So what I wanted to kind of focus on here is the first bit. Yeah. This is the first developer direct. This indicates to me, obviously, and everyone else with ears and a functional brain, that this is going to be an ongoing thing, provided they get good feedback for it. So, like, if this is an ongoing thing, bearing in mind as well that the time that they've set it at 43 minutes because it's pre-recorded and not live. What would be the best thing for you, Tim? What would do you need this once a year on top of an Xbox showcase? Do you think maybe twice a year? Should it be flexible? Should we always have an expectation that we're going to have one at the beginning of the year and then one maybe towards the end of the year and then the showcase bang in the middle? More than that, less than that? Or what what are your thoughts on the cadence of this sort of show if it all pans out?
I would say no more than about 3 times a year. I'd say 2 is a pretty good number. And then like the big showcase that we tend to do, whether that's at E3, Game Awards appearances, that sort of stuff, alongside 2 of these developer directs. I also think having one like every like third, just like every like 4 months, dev diary, 4 months later, developer direct, 4 months later, developer direct, But I think any more than that, having once a quarter and stuff like that, I feel like that's just too many at that point. To have 4 of those and then multiple other appearances at these other places. I think for me, a good number is around 2 to 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds healthy. If I was to just pull a number out my ass, that would probably be what I'd land on. I don't really know if, like, obviously the state of plays that Sony do, they depend on what games they have coming out. They won't have one if not. Whereas I feel like there's a distinct possibility that Xbox could do a developer direct, for example, for a back half of the year that doesn't necessarily have any first party exclusives, but does have a bunch of indie and AA games coming to Game Pass, for example. And I think it would be maybe a bit of a mistake to start muddying that water. Save the Game Pass reels for bigger shows or as part of a bigger first party show. Like having 3 minutes of this developer direct that's focused on Forza, Minecraft Legends, Redfall, and the other one. ZeniMax, that would be fine, but like muddying the water of like, oh, we're actually just going to show third-party Game Pass games in this developer direct, I think would be a bit of a mistake. I think what they need to do is start setting the expectation that when they reveal this, everyone can get excited. I'm like, wow, it's Xbox first party showing their stuff. All this stuff that we've been so excited about, the Fables of the world and the Avowed and the State of Decay 3s and the Coalition's next game and Gear 6.
You think keep it first party only, not even if there's like Games Pass day ones. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see like Lies of P, and all those sort of games appear in these developer directs. You want it to be only first party.
I think so. Yeah, I feel like there's another space, like, because like they've also been doing their indie Twitch streams as well, which have been like not good. It's been the same thing. There's like a host sitting in their bedroom, trying to mediate the conversation between devs over Microsoft Teams, and they're like 3 hours long. And there's some like obviously good games there, and there's like gameplay and everything, but it's just like nobody's watching that. I feel like you can do justice to those games without muddying expectations by having them either in a B-roll or at some of the bigger shows, the showcases. They go on for like an hour and a half, or TGAs or Gamescom. That's the opportunity, I think, for those games at the other shows that we spoke about earlier that Xbox typically has a presence at, but doesn't typically announce things.
Yeah.
I just think, if they start blurring that line of like, next time we announce a direct, it might just be Game Pass stuff. I think.
Yeah.
Because I guess the whole point of what we wanted when we've spoken about this in previous episodes and what the community has kind of wanted was a more frequent way to get updates on Xbox's first party, because they've been so funny about communicating it, where games are at, when are the release dates. The only thing we fucking hear is when they get delayed.
That's true. That is true. And there definitely won't be like a lack of that moving forward, especially this year, and especially like even in the years to come. If we acquire Activision Blizzard and we got Bethesda and all these people under our belts, all these studios, Avowed coming up, which will most likely be next year. There's definitely enough to talk about to make these things solely first party only. You'd like to think.
That's right. That's exactly it. We had, back in then, we spoke about this on previous weeks as kind of a criticism of the platform. But, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, Matt Booty was on record saying, oh, we were having a problem scheduling all these games in with the shows that we have. And then there was a big gap in 2022, which obviously, you know, like shit happens. But it's been a while now since all these acquisitions happening. There's only so long a community can wait, and you know, I'm sure you're feeling it in the same way that I am. That it's like, okay, 2021 was good, couple of wrinkles there for the platform, but generally that was a good year for the first party studios, and we're all happy with that. And then it was just disappointing to lose that steam again in 2022, considering the Bethesda acquisition closed, you know, nearly 2 years ago, well, over 2 years ago now. The other acquisitions they did happened at E3 2017 and 2018.
Yeah.
Like, which by the way, I watched that part of the show back the other day, and that was a fucking good show. Like the fact when Phil Spencer was just out on stage going, Undead Labs joining the team, Playground joining the team, Ninja Theory joining the team, Compulsion Games, and just one after, and we're creating the initiative to create a new game. That was a hype.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was a good show.
So yeah, it's just they definitely need a way to support showing all of the you know, the first party catalog that they're working on. I think they need, because that was equal parts a problem with the marketing discussion we've had earlier. You know, that the first party games aren't getting the spotlight that they need. You know, like that thing happened a couple of months back with Redfall, where there was like a 2-minute gameplay trailer that came out that was, the people that did see it, it resonated really well with. I saw a lot of opinions turning on that trailer, and from that point onwards, really. But you know, a lot of people are like, oh, it's like this and not like that. Oh, I might actually be into this.
Yeah.
And Xbox didn't retweet it until like a day later. You know, there was no Xbox acknowledgement. There was just no synchronization. And I think just having a centralized show like this allows them to go like, here's the Bethesda game that's coming up next. This is an Xbox, you know, it's got a big Xbox label on it. This is ours. It's coming out then. Here's some cool gameplay. And that's especially, you know, with the acquisitions and stuff, and it just really creates that brand association. So all good stuff.
Definitely.
So I also wanted to just quickly go over what they've said is the content of this show. What was kind of your reaction to kind of what they've officially said is coming, which includes The Elder Scrolls Online, Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, and Redfall? Is that good? Are you happy with that? Is that disappointing? Does it depend on what they show and what we hear? You know, what did you think?
I'm pretty happy with that overall. I would have definitely liked to see Starfield's name in there. That's pretty disappointing to not see that. But yeah, I mean, you know, I do want to see more gameplay on Minecraft Legends, just so I actually can fully understand what that game even is, and you know, get kind of excited for it, because it could be something that I might quite like. You know, I've enjoyed RTSs in the past like that, and if they can port over a kind of simplistic one and have it on console and have it be all quite goofy and quite fun, I can see that being a pretty cool game dropping into Games Pass, one of the biggest IPs in the world as well. So like, yeah, I'd really like to see more on that, and obviously I'm gagging to see more Redfall and understand what's happening behind the scenes of that. Maybe get some new gameplay slices, and you know, just kind of understand, you know, exactly what they're going for. I'd like to see more on like loot and how loot works in that game as well. Like actual see some like drops on the floor, and you know, how the inventory works. You know, are these guns that have like big blocks of text with like effects and cool abilities, you know, for like the legendaries, or are they more like simplistic in their design, you know, for like legendaries and stuff like that? It'd be interesting to get a confirmation on all that sort of stuff. But yeah, you know, and obviously seeing Forza as a nice graphical showcase, you know, people are very excited for that. Not my cup of tea, but I always still like picking my jaw up off the floor when I see those games. Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited for that. I'm a solid like 8 out of 10, you know, for that. But like seeing Starfield's name in there would have put me up to like a 9, 10 out of 10. Like let's fucking click on this shit. Let's get a magnifying glass. Let's watch this on 0.2 speed.
Let's get a magnifying glass out. Each pixel still.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm still,
Rainbow Fro-
yeah,
yeah.
I'm pretty excited with the lineup there. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Mm.
I'm surprised actually we didn't see anything from like
And I think,
like Stalker 2 would
I
have been
kind of
nice.
do. Yeah, there were some other ones like that, but then again, this comes back around to what I'm saying. It's a preference thing for sure. But Stalker being an Xbox aligned game that is timed exclusive, obviously it's a Game Pass game as well. Like you start getting into that territory of like, oh, do we put that in this sort of show, or do we have to have a hard cutoff line of
Mhm.
first party studios? I think it's kind of interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know what that does to the dynamic once you start, because I think if you do open that gate, then it's like we might as well turn this from a 40-minute show to an hour, minutes, and 20, because we can put Atomic Heart in and Stalker in and Party Animals and all these other games. Do you know what I mean? Like once those flag, and now it's not really a first party show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I understand the difficulty, but because for sure, as an Xbox aligned game, it would be nice to see some more gameplay for that,
Definitely.
especially one that's likely to be exclusive for a long period of time due to the unfortunate circumstances that the GSC world, the devs of the team have found themselves in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to. They've got like a chunk of text here about each game. I kind of wanted to quickly talk about them. I could hear that you had particular interest around Redfall, and as do I. I'm sure the audience does as well. And we had a big breakdown, by the way, last week, just for anybody who's listening, around an interview that came out last week. Loads of big details in there. If you're interested in kind of listening to a breakdown of that, I've got that timestamp from last week's episode if you wanted to go and have a listen. But I'm like, to follow up on what Tim said about loot, for example, one of the things they said that stuck in my mind was like a double barrel shotgun that had like, what was it, a 10% chance to like spark a UV flash as the bullets went out. So
Yeah.
it kind of gives you an idea of kind of. I think there is that's a good sign to me. Like that's a good level of like intricacy
Mhm.
at a base level of like of kind of loot design, because affects different factions and different effects and things like that. I think that's a good starting point. But I'm with you. I want to see more. So this is what they've said, to quote about what's being showed Redfall. The minds behind Dishonored and Prey, Arcane Austin, will show several minutes of gameplay from their upcoming FPS. The developer underscore direct will reveal single and multiplayer gameplay, showing more of how you and your friends can take down bloodthirsty vampires and on the picturesque island of Redfall, Massachusetts. Fans can expect to learn more about combat, customization, bosses, the open world, and more. I feel like
Okay.
they're very selective with their language in this chunk of text.
Yeah, definitely. The bosses thing is actually interesting because we haven't really seen anything like that, and I feel like that's quite a key part of a game like that. You don't want your bosses to just be fucking bullet sponges with like waves of ads, because that shit's just boring. Um, you like them to have some form of mechanic, some form of like working together to get this boss down. Whether it's like someone distracting it and shooting from different angles, or like or even it's just a case of like you wear it down with a certain type of ammo, and then someone in your team needs to have like a stake weapon to like get it while it's staggered, or something like that. It'd be interesting to see that sort of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I for real think that Redfall has a lot more up its sleeve. Like, I think people are going to be really surprised by including us. Like, I think we're going to be
Hmm.
really surprised by what they show here, because the more and more I hear about it, the more and more I'm like, this isn't fitting. I can't pigeonhole this into like a conventional genre.
Hmm.
This isn't. It's kind of like Borderlands, but it's not Borderlands. Like, it's got some Left 4 Dead vibes, but it's definitely not Left 4 Dead. They're on the record saying that that's explicitly not the case. It's got some loot elements. It's like maybe, like I said, Borderlands. Maybe it's got some like Destiny elements in terms of the squad play. But it just isn't quite falling into every category. And I suppose it depends, how much on that spectrum it is an immersive sim, it is an arcane game. That will heavily influence, I think, how the game plays. And like you said, the bosses in particular, I think we have seen like maybe one or two of the bosses in like previous gameplay. It's just we don't really know what we're looking at. That's the problem. It's
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's a funky vampire. That's a funky vampire with a flaming head.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and by the sounds of it, they're going to play a big part in the the game, the vampire gods, they kept calling them, didn't they? The rooks. That's what they said. And they said there's one vampire in particular that's emulating a day and night cycle, even though there's a local eclipse. You know, there's a shroud around the island, which is really interesting. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of scope for some interesting mechanics here, and I trust Arcane to have thought of some interesting things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So very excited to see that, but far and away, Redfall is the thing that I am excited to hear more about. You know, like they've said, combat, customization, bosses, the open world, and more. The only reservation I have here is that they very specifically said Arcane Austin will showcase several minutes of gameplay from their upcoming FPS, and we're back to this conversation. Like, what's several? Several.
Yeah.
You're not just showing me 3 minutes of gameplay. I'm fucking off, are you? There's no way.
Yeah,
give me more.
Not.
I need like a solid 5 minutes plus.
Yeah, I'd definitely say several. It's under 10 minutes total, I think. But
yeah, that's right.
I think the reason they say several is because it'll be like a cumulative. They'll probably throw in clips as they talk about specific things, like and stuff like that, rather than just have like a 5-minute trailer that they talk over.
But I don't really want that. That's the thing. I think I want these shows to be like, here's a chunk of gameplay. Like play it and talk me through it. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know.
To me, that's the most representative
give me an E3
types of showcase you can do. Yeah, give me an E3. Yeah, that's right.
Walking down a hallway simulator.
Yeah, comment on every single thing in the environment. There's look at the butterflies. Wow, you're going to be jealous of this gun I found.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or I hear something. Better crouch our way up there. No one plays like this.
Careful, they start whispering. Yeah, start whispering. Yeah. So they can't hear you.
Yeah. Most of the time we're all just talking about dicks, right? Sprinting around, shooting stuff. Like that's the average gamer.
Like literally, yeah, that's it. And so you know, if you're interested, dear listener, several, according to a brief Google search, is more than 2, but not many.
Nice. That clears things up.
If there's not more than 2 minutes of gameplay, I'm going to kick off. If there's 1 minute 59, it's over.
Your boy's gonna fucking burn the place to the ground.
Yeah, I'm hoping for 5 minutes of solid gameplay. I don't want little snippets chopped in because it just doesn't give a sense. Like that's just adding to more of what we already seen. Like, yeah, you can show off like a little bit of me shooting a boss and stuff, but I want to see a chunk because that's going to really help, especially with like an open world type game. Do you know what I mean? You can't get a sense of it until you're like actually walking around and exploring it properly for like a solid amount of time. So yeah, that's my biggest hope for Redfall.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess the other thing here, and sorry, I know if you're listening, you're not interested in Redfall. I'm really sorry about that. This is our jam for the show. But the other thing that they've said is that they'll be revealing single and multiplayer gameplay, and so I kind of wanted to ask you what you kind of thought that like means.
For what?
I don't know. Like, it seems like a pointless. It says they're going to show off single and multiplayer gameplay. Like specifically, they say those words, and it just seems like a pointless distinction to be like, this is somebody playing by themselves, and now this is somebody playing with their friends. Like I don't know. Like,
okay. I do think they do have to have one like both though, because otherwise, people, if you show it only in a co-op light and only playing with other people and friends, people will naturally think of that game as a co-op experience and just be like, well, I can't buy this if I don't have friends to play it with. You know, like it sounds stupid, but that's why you do have to show it from both perspectives and really clarify to the person that it's actually single and co-op only. And as stupid as it sounds, I actually think it's quite smart for Arcane to do that, because they really need to just drive the point home and make it really easy to understand that this could be enjoyed from both perspectives, single or playing with friends. They need to be very clear with their marketing, which is they haven't done up until now. So
it's like clear I think, listening to feedback, right? Isn't it? Of like misunderstanding. Like they've gathered the community sentiment and they're like, oh, people think this is like a fucking co-op only Left 4 Dead. Like we need to double down on
exactly.
like making sure people don't think that.
Which is a shame, because it means that overall we're probably going to get less time of the stuff we want to see, because they have to boil it down and be like, see, look, this guy's playing solo and this guy isn't. It's like, well, great. Can you show us more of what we actually want to see? They really have to, like, so we're probably seeing less as a result of it, but because they have to show it from both perspectives. But
to the normies,
to the fucking smooth brains.
Yes, right. Are you telling me that everybody who's going to play this game doesn't have an Xbox podcast weekly? Like, is that what you're telling me? Because that's ridiculous. Why would you not at this point? It's so easy to cash in on.
Yeah.
Okay, Minecraft Legends, Tim. This is weird. This is weird. This is really weird. Do you know what they said about this game? They said Mojang will showcase an insider's look into the PvP multiplayer experience in Minecraft Legends.
What? PvP? I want to see PvE. I want to know what the game is first.
Yeah.
Can I see the main loop of your game, please, before you show off the fucking side piece?
I think there is actually more gameplay out there than you think. I haven't seen it. I've seen like little bits, but my understanding is that there's like, if you wanted to find that information, you could. But I am with you. Like in terms of what's been shown at a showcase, I don't feel like it's been made that clear what Minecraft Legends is.
No. Yeah, and I wouldn't have even thought it would have PvP, but I guess it does. I guess
Maybe
you'll
it's
have like a Halo
I bet.
Wars matchmaking sort of scenario.
Maybe, but also, what if you could get invaded?
That would actually be kind of hype.
I think, like,
That'd be kind of fun.
The game is, I straight up think that could be a thing.
Just invade me from the
because there's like
west.
nether portals. Yeah, because there's like nether portals, and I bet it could be a thing where you build up your army and then you like invade into someone else's world and you try and, having said that, maybe that's a bit unfriendly for what like Minecraft is. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you die, you have to go and pick up all your loot, otherwise you lose it forever.
Yeah.
Just really copying the Souls formula.
You got to go and pick up all your pork chops from your pigs that died.
But I'm with you though. An invasion mechanic does sound quite fun. Definitely, could be kind of cool, and it's nothing that's been done before in those sort of games as well. It's new.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is Forza Motorsport, really, which, like we said, the last time we heard this had a release date of spring 2023, which is, rapidly coming up, and we've heard nothing. So, either we've got a delay on the cards or we've got, and, let's be frank, usually, I think Turn 10 are the same, but usually between Playground and Turn 10 with all the Forza games, they announce and then the game's out in like a couple months.
Yeah. I think we'll just see a lot of gameplay. I don't think we'll get a delay. I just think they'll be like, here it is. We forgot to show it. But yeah, it's coming out in like 2 months. Yeah.
And it's worth mentioning as well here. I remember seeing about this, but I forgot to mention it. That on the blog, it doesn't say anything about release dates, but on the German version of the blog, it says that we'll be getting gameplay and release dates. So just an interesting little thing. I expect Forza, Minecraft, and Redfall to all get release dates.
Oh, okay. I was literally about that was my next question to you. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
I'd be really surprised if they didn't. I think that'd be silly. I think that would be the whole point of a show like this to, put that line in the sand.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if I have much to say about Forza. We know they've kind of rebooted the game. I think reports were that they were trying to like work in an actual story to Forza. Don't know how that'll work because the story elements in like Forza Horizon were always like pretty dire. It's never like properly trying to, but there was like some pretty questionable voice acting, I think, sometimes between some of the people you were speaking to, and But maybe they're doing that. Maybe Tim, they're going to announce a second arcade mode with Forza Motorsport. How about that? Where you drive around in your real cars on funky tracks, and it's going to be Forza Motorsport Lego edition, and you pick up blocks of Lego and you throw them around. And
I
you like Lego races?
Probably gonna...
Did you play Lego races?
No, I haven't. I think they're probably going to keep that over to the Horizon franchise for like wacky, fun DLCs and playgrounds and stuff like that, and like custom games. I think they're going to keep that Horizon, and they're going to keep Forza Motorsport very racing sim, very serious. You like cars, you buy this game, rather than Forza's like you like cars, but you also like to have a wacky old time sometimes. Here's a bit of a playground for you to play in, like
here's Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think anything like that's going to happen. I think it'll be...
No, you're probably right.
Simmy.
I do think Xbox do need to be careful with like fatigue around this franchise though, like for real. Like a lot of Forza, a lot of Forza. So we'll see. Like you said, I am excited to pick my jaw off the floor with the reveal. Doesn't do anything for me personally, and it's good. We don't say this enough, but it is good that this is a genre that Xbox leads in. Xbox leads the car sim genre, and it's kind of not really close.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm excited to see more, and yeah, it's gonna look fucking stunning, and yeah, I'm very excited.
Maybe I'll do a couple races.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe I will.
Maybe. And last of all, I was going to say not least, but I think honestly it is least. But that's fine. Is that the Elder Scrolls Online is going to have a 2023 major chapter update, including the latest regions of Tamriel to become playable in ESO, as well as a major new feature coming in the game's biggest update this year. Major new feature, Tim.
Cool.
The developer direct will be immediately followed by the full standalone ESO chapter reveal event hosted by ZeniMax Online Studios, which will provide all the in-depth details ESO players will be keen to know. So, good, pretty cool. I reckon this must be actually quite a big feature. I've known maybe there's more buzz in like the subreddits and the communities about what this is, but I think this must be a pretty big deal if they're like putting it in their show like this.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man, ESO is big. It's still very big, and people love the expansions. I think they do a very good job with their expansions. So, I'm not surprised it has like a place here. I do agree that it's a bit weird seeing it in that top like 5 of like opening up 2023. But I think it's still pretty big, and like you said, this must be a pretty requested feature that people have been waiting on for a long time. As well as a brand new expansion and area and stuff like that. So, yeah, no, it's cool. It's exciting. I always get excited when I see ESO trailers, and I'm like, I should go back and play this. And I'm like, it's not really doing it for me, but I always want to go back and play it. Yeah.
Totally with you. It's absolutely one of those sorts of games. I mean, because like the Elder Scrolls universe is like, Tamriel is very close to the two of us. I think most people our age, played Elder Scrolls. I suppose it's been such a long running franchise, but particular Oblivion and Skyrim were the two that made the series go mainstream. I think that would be fair to say. And there were such big gaps, between the franchises. The Elder Scrolls Online is like the only thing you get, like a taste, and so it's nice to like see those reveals and be like, oh wow, this is such a cool world. It's not quite Lord of the Rings, but it's it's not quite something more goofy. Like fucking Harry Potter or something. It's like somewhere in the middle. It's kind of cool, and it's like kind of got a bit of sci-fi to it sometimes as well, and it's just a very, very cool universe. So yeah, I'm with you. It's always cool to see it. And maybe the major feature, Tim, will be an engine shift to Unreal Engine 5 where all the combat will feel so much better. Maybe it's a combat overhaul. How about that, eh?
Yeah. Could be. Be pretty cool.
Probably not.
No.
But yes. So I guess so that's all the games. I guess the last thing I wanted to cover about the showcase was like, is what's announced, Tim, to be at the show. The only other inkling we have of what might be there is Game Pass games. They're like, oh wow, what a brave bet from Deck. Well, like, obviously, yeah, they're going to show some Game Pass stuff, but or make an announcement for the month. The only reason I say that is because they had the Xbox Wire blog post a couple of days ago that said Monster Hunter Rise is coming this month, Persona 3 Portable, and Persona 4G Golden. I can't remember.
Yeah, Golden.
But there's a G there. Yeah. Okay. And as part of the blog post, they said, we're just getting warmed up and we'll be back soon with more games, more perks, and more news. To me, that sounds like here's the rest of the Game Pass lineup for the month.
Yeah. Plus, we might get like a trailer for like Atomic Heart or something like that, coming like February.
Yeah. Sizzle reel.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
I'd like Valheim, personally. Drop that. That'd be great.
It's not coming. That's not coming this half of the year. Maybe this half of the year.
Yeah, it is. Not. They said it's this first half.
Oh, is it first half? Is it? Oh, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't have fucking time to play Valheim, and it looks exciting, but
why not?
Because all the other fucking games coming out, and Valheim is such a slow game. It's such a slow, like, you really need to spend so much time in a game like this.
All right. I mean, next time, just say you don't want to play with me. They'll save my feelings.
No. Like, I'll play it on like a peer offline with other people. Don't sniff into the mic like that, dude. We've got audio listeners. Oh, that's horrible.
Right. Okay. Okay. So this is in terms of the stuff that's not announced. Like, before when this was leaked before, I think we had a little conversation about it. Maybe it was on Messenger or whatever. But it was like, was ZeniMax rumored to be there? Maybe they'll show their new IP. I think that was always a bit of a risk, like a bold thing to say. But like what I'm asking you here is, do you think there is something they're going to show off here that they're not telling us about? Is there an under promise and over deliver approach coming here?
Or you think they might sneak in like a title screen or something like that?
Ooh,
be like a
maybe.
Yeah, or just maybe be like ZeniMax's next project, and then you hear it's just like a black screen and like the sound of a lightsaber or like a gun shooting.
Yeah.
Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah. It's so high on the Mandalorian copium.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, but my bets are probably no. But there could be a potential, like, we're also working on this, and then it just like gives us like a title screen or something like that, or it just gives us like a locale, and it's like, oh, what's that? What is that? It's Sandy. Is that Tatooine? What is that? Like...
yeah. Is that Mos Eisley? Yeah. Let's go there.
But yeah,
for sure. I think that's really interesting because like it does is this whole thing of like, do we under promise, over deliver? That's great, but does that set expectations that every time we do a developer direct and we make a list of things that are going to be there, people think there's going to be one secret extra thing? It's this whole this whole thing.
True.
So I think the best thing they could do is just end the show and be like, we know you're all excited to hear about Starfield. We know you're disappointed, absolutely heartbroken, sobbing on your hands and knees on the floor that it was not here. However, don't worry. Watch the Super Bowl, or or we'll have a developer direct in April.
Or they'll be like, don't worry, because it's available midnight tonight. You can start pre-installing it now.
Yeah. Haven't booked tomorrow off for work? Don't care. This is good.
Yeah. We've called
a PR win.
We've traced every single person from their IP address that owns an Xbox, and we've personally called your work and paid for a day off tomorrow. You're welcome. Starfield releases midnight.
Yeah. Just off screen, you just hear like that's a data breach. That's a data breach.
Yeah.
It's a what?
Yeah. Phil's just
what?
like handcuffed behind stage.
Yeah. His eyes are like darting at the camera and back off like off camera, and he's like, it's a beta peach. It's
it's over.
Accrete teach. Oh, yeah. Cut through. Cut through. Yeah, so I think that's probably the best, safest thing we could get for a, like a one more thing. But if we're really, 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 really super duper uber lucky, maybe they say, and also here's a Ninja Theory have been working hard since coming back from the holidays, and they've got a little something to show you, and we get small slice of gameplay, 45 seconds, cuts to a release date.
No.
Holiday 2023. Bang! Xbox has got a big year. Forza, Redfall, Starfield, Hellblade. This is one of the best years Xbox has ever had. Ah! And then all our heads explode. And an Xbox Oreo rolls down our shoulders.
So I never get to play.
And Phil Spencer comes along. Phil Spencer comes along and each of us individually, and he picks up the Xbox Oreos and he puts them over our eyes and ships us off on a ethereal boat to the Xbox afterlife. It's like Karen's coin. Do you get it? It was
I get it.
It was a Hellblade reference.
It's
it was a Nordic reference to Hellblade. Yeah,
I got it.
It was quite good on the spot. Honestly,
no, that was a proper deep dive into your fucking brain. I did not need today.
I was quite proud of myself on this one. All right, shall we move on, Tim?
Yeah, let's move on to the end of the show, shall we?
That better be a TikTok. All right. Well, yeah, we've got a couple of, I've got a couple more I've got a couple more stories, but I don't really feel the need to go over all of them. So I'm just going to go over some of the important stuff here because I know we're coming up to 2 hours. But Tim, this is really important. I couldn't not cover this. In a report from VGC, Video Game Chronicle, some of the key talent behind Microsoft's Forza Horizon series has left Xbox's Playground Games to form a new AAA development studio called Maverick Games. Did you hear about this in the week?
I didn't. No.
So it's like 5. It seems like 5. They're not many, 5. It's like a 200-person team or something. Like 5 people have left, including I'm pretty sure the creative lead, maybe the studio director Mike Brown has left to form the studio. It doesn't seem that there's any bad blood or anything. They just wanted to go and do their own thing. But for sure, it does sting a bit. Like, it's not the first time we've heard about leads leaving a game. Like, we've heard a similar thing happen with Avowed. Supposedly it was a couple of years ago now. I think something happened with Everwild as well, the initiative. And it does sting when you hear this. I think for the most part, it's normal. I think we can typically agree that, staff rotating in and out is normal. But it's distressing, I think, when you see a lot of these teams go off and they announce their independence. And it's like, God damn it. Like, why? Maybe it's too soon for Xbox to make any sort of partnership, but like Xbox know these people do well with the Xbox hardware in a Microsoft environment, and they do good work as a team. Like letting them go from their team, but or not keeping their team as part of it, Xbox Game Studios just seems like a damn shame,
Yeah, it is kind of a shame, and it also makes you think that like, was this project like pitched to Xbox as well, and Xbox were like, nah, like we
make Forza.
Yeah, they were just like, yeah, make Forza, make fucking Fable, and they were just like, we have you working on so much else, so it kind of forced their hand that if they wanted to do this personally, they really believed in this project they wanted to do. Xbox weren't behind it for whatever reason, they genuinely just they had to go solo to sort of make it happen.
That's right.
Yeah, it's always a shame to see, but like you said, there's probably no bad blood, and it's probably just a case of, they wanted their independence, and they, maybe they didn't want this under the Xbox umbrella. They wanted to just do it under their own studio and be independent. It could just be completely personal preference, for all this sort of stuff. So, yeah.
And ultimately, you can't force people to stay. If they want to go off and do their own thing, then so be it. And
money's not everything,
like you say. That's it. Yeah, and like you say, maybe they were just kind of done with Forza. Maybe they wanted to go over to the Fable team, but they couldn't. Ultimately, I don't think it's a big deal. But you can't help but look at it and be like, God damn it! It reminds me of Moon Studio with Ori. Slightly different, obviously, because they weren't a first-party studio, but they were an Xbox Aligned studio, releasing Ori and Ori 2 exclusive to Xbox for at least a long period of time before they eventually got ported to Switch. And that team's now making like a AAA action RPG, like Diablo style sort of game.
Mm.
And you just know that game's going to be good. And ultimately, you can't force them to work with you on an exclusivity level. If they want to keep multiplayer, then they're going to do that. But I sometimes get the sense that Microsoft doesn't try hard enough to retain talent with studios that they have a marked success rate with.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'd like to think that more money was offered and incentives were offered here. I don't think it was a case of just being like, oh, all right, yeah, bye. But sometimes, like you said, it's not about the incentives. It's not about the money. It's about a personal project. It's about what they want to undertake. Maybe they don't like being under the big corporate umbrella, and they're like, Microsoft might very well approve this game, but we still want to do it independently. There's just a different vibe about it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that. I think it's just it definitely does contrast to some of the purchases that Xbox has made. Studios that they have worked with on like a second party, people call it a second party basis. One example is Undead Labs with State of Decay, and it's like, man, like that. Again, it comes down. You can't force studios to be purchased ultimately, but like Undead Labs made some conceptually very unique games, but ultimately they've kind of always underperformed, I feel. Even if the first State of Decay was their debut game, I think it was. And the State of Decay 2 underperformed again, whereas someone like Moon Studios overperformed with the first Ori, overperformed with Ori 2, like 90 on OpenCritic Game of the Year contender, is one of the best games of the Xbox One generation, full stop, like exclusives. So it just feels like sometimes the decision making is a bit wonky there, but maybe like you said, it is just the case. Microsoft is just a massive company. There's lots of red tape, there's lots of bureaucracy there, and people just want to be out of that, and no amount of money is really going to change that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a big deal to a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. All right then. So I suppose we will nip down to the final story for the show today, and it is around Google and Nvidia raising concerns around Activision Blizzard. Tim, you thought you got away with it. You thought we'd gone 2 hours without talking about it. Your soul was feeling enlightened and full of energy and light and fluffy. No, get back down there. Sit down. Shut up. We're talking about ABK.
I don't wanna. You only booked me for 2 hours. I'm out.
Yeah. No, we're almost done. Don't worry about it.
All right.
No, I mean, honestly, there isn't all that much to say, but the headline that came out of Bloomberg was Google and Nvidia joined Sony in raising issues around Activision's Microsoft deal and expressed their concern to the FTC. We've heard from a lot of publishers that they don't really have a problem overall with the acquisition, but ultimately, these are two companies which are not surprised. I'm not surprised that they are averse to this.
Okay.
Google Stadia, even what was it? They said something, I think, around the Bethesda. It was either in an interview or as a comment to a regulator around the Bethesda acquisition that they were like, when they announced that they were closing down, they are like, man, in this environment of purchases, we just can't compete.
Yeah.
Even though it had nothing to do, the Bethesda acquisition had nothing to do with them shutting down. Like, it was just such a ridiculous.
Also, it's Google. Like, what do you mean?
It's fucking Google.
You could buy whatever the fuck you want, probably quite similar to Microsoft could, if you wanted.
That's right.
Like, what the hell?
It's just one of them. Microsoft is just investing in Xbox, whereas Google clearly were not investing in Stadia that much. You know, they wanted to get it out the door as a MVP, minimum viable product, really, and just see how they got on. They really only had one hit, I think, in their New World, and that was kind of it. They had that other like MOBA-like game which died, and they shut the dev team down like within a year of the game coming out. And now they're just selling shit off. You know, it's really sad. So, you know, not only that, Google and Microsoft have had like a historic bad relationship. You know, in one example, recent one, you know, we cast our mind back to the Epic versus Apple case. You remember that shit? And then the ensuing Epic versus Google case, due to how Apple and Google were, you know, siphoning profits from purchases made through their Play and App stores, respectively. Microsoft sided with Epic. And I don't just mean that like, you know, sentimentally. You know, they went on the record to regulators and they were like, yeah, no, we're with Epic here. We are disincentivized to try and compete in the mobile space because the profits we make are just going to disappear. You know, the overhead just Google and Apple will get most of it, and that's not up for negotiation. And ultimately, I think in these, I don't think there's much of it left ongoing. I think someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but Apple ended up winning the case with like a small concession. I can't remember what that small concession was, and maybe it was the same with Google as well. But you know, point being, Microsoft publicly sided with Epic there. So, you know, I'm not surprised to see Google be like, oh, yeah, for sure. Our already dead Stadia is really going to suffer more, you know, at the hands of this ABK acquisition.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it just comes down to a bit of petty sort of bad blood there. I think at this point, Stadia and Google, they've cut their losses in the gaming industry. They're just doing it solely, because of bad blood. Yeah.
God, they just did not stick in there very long, did they?
No,
it was a shame. I was
just
ready to see another competitor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we've had like there are big players in the tech industry that have just like it's just been pathetic to see how risk averse they've been. You know, Google and Amazon, the two of them.
They they weren't even willing to take like a couple years of like losses or a few years of losses. They were literally, it was like 1 year. They were like, we made a loss, we out, homie. We can't do this. It's just like, what? Come on! Like Xbox were taking a loss for a long time, weren't they? Before they really started turning around. And I'm sure Sony had a period like that too. Like it's just fucking stick in there, man. Show some grit.
Yeah. That's absolutely it. Yeah. And I think, you know, there is, I know it's a bit off topic a little bit, but like, I think it does demonstrate that kind of difference between the way some modern games are going with this kind of, you know, like free to play, low barrier to entry, mobile game kind of approach versus like the traditional full price purchases. Because I think, you know, spinning up your own AAA development teams is lengthy, expensive, you know, such a slim margin of error, you know, because you've got to make good games and then you've got to get the platform in people's hands. And if all of those things don't coalesce and come together, you end up with a flop. So tricky business.
Yeah. Definitely.
The other side of this, Tim, is Nvidia. Of course, I suppose, running in parallel to the Epic versus Google deal, Microsoft also voiced concerns around Nvidia's $40 billion acquisition of ARM. I had to look this up myself. If you don't know, ARM is kind of like a CPU developer and manufacturer, a processing unit manufacturer. And it ended up in them abandoning the merger due to competition concerns and pushback from regulators, particularly the CMA, by the way. I'll just put that out there. They did their phase 1 report and Nvidia were like, oh, fuck this. They're going to give us so much grief. They just pulled out of the acquisition of the merger. But it's 40 billion, like is...
Jeez.
You know?
Yeah.
And not only that, Nvidia, of course, I think are the only real... you know, arguably, cloud streaming competition to xCloud with GeoForce Now. I know very little about this service, but I know people report it's very good. People report it's very good, very little latency. Like the best out there at the moment. You know, Xbox xCloud has its benefits of being Game Pass included, and you know, the whole cross play between, you know, pick up and play between consoles and PC and xCloud, and you know, the servers are pretty good. But you know, we've heard I've heard GeForce Now is very, very good. So Nvidia have a very strong incentive to be like, we don't want Xbox to have this over our heads that they could just stop letting Call of Duty be available on on GeForce Now or GeForce Play. I can't remember what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it completely makes sense. Yeah, there's just some direct competition there, right? Yeah. Both of those make sense, and yeah, I mean, it's not a good look either, because those are some pretty big companies, you know, going against the deal. You know, it's that sort of stuff does make a difference on the deal going through, you know, when companies like this start to voice their opinions on it. That's for sure. So
and you know, just to pull that thread a little bit more, when I read I read as much of the article as I could. It's really annoying because all of Bloomberg stuff is like behind a paywall, so I just have to like inference what other people are commenting, and like it's really annoying. But anyway, my understanding is that the way that the title was phrased was a little bit strong. Surprise, surprise. You know, that they weren't necessarily joining Sony. Like Nvidia was like didn't actively oppose the deal, but they feel that there are some concerns in terms of how slippery the slope is with it. Same with Google, you know, so they're raising, you know, they're not because of course we've got to remember that when these big companies, if there's an overlap between you know, the rationale for concerns around the ABK deal and then any other future deals they try and make, it's a bad look to regulators. It's like, well, why were you concerned about it when Xbox was doing it, but you're not concerned about it when you're doing it? Kind of sus, bro. You know what I mean? So, especially with Nvidia having a history of wanting to make massive acquisitions at 40 billion, you know, similar in scope to ABK.
True.
So, you know, it's not a death sentence at all for the deal. You know, it's a couple of rivals essentially being like, yeah, well, this could negatively impact us, obviously, depending on how they treat it. So once again, fishing for more concessions, I think. You know, I think we are due to hear more from the CMA shortly. The FTC, I don't know if you saw, like, pushed their decision back to like the court date to August.
Really? Fuck's sake.
And like, you know, Microsoft, I think at that point, Microsoft don't care. Like the deals, they're pushing the deal through. Like if the regulators, if they can get regulators to agree to concessions, they're going to put it through. I think we spoke about this before, but they can put the deal through without FTC's consent. They're just trying to sue them around competition concerns. Like if they get the deal if the deal goes through with the regulators and they confirm it, and then the FTC win in court, which I still think is really unlikely, then that's another conversation. Like they might be forced to sell it off, but I think Microsoft are that confident that the FTC are just pissing them around to try and make a disincentive for big tech to do this sort of thing, which is fair enough in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, ultimately, I think their focus is now just on the EU. You know, there are all the regulators around the world. So when that comes around, we'll see.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes, is a little bit interesting. Yeah. All right then, Tim, we're done here, buddy-o.
Buddy-o.
Let's hit that jingle and let's get out of here. I didn't ask anyone to like the video fucking once. Shit. If you're still here, everyone, please hit the like button. We'll run out of, you know, money. Do you know, please. Tim, I think we've made 11p on the Quick Resume podcast from
seriously
the audio. Yeah, I think it's pretty big, man.
Where am I getting
more,
my
15p now?
Where am I getting my 6p cut for that? You're taking 5p.
You know, I'll give you 3p and I'll take the other 14 13. Oh no.
Yeah, it's not. That still doesn't make sense. You said 11p. Whatever. That's
no. Then I upped it to 16. It doesn't matter anyway, does it? Really?
It does.
You're getting 25% cut.
It's a lot of money, dude.
Anyway, yeah, like the video, guys. That'd be great. If you enjoy what we do, consider subscribing. We will be back next week, probably. Follow us on Twitter, where Tim retweets all of my good tweets.
I do.
Yes. And we will see you on the flippity flip.
Catch you in a bit.